Hey there, welcome to another episode of Hooks and Ladders, where we talk about songwriting. My name is Blair Packham.
My name is Allister Bradley.
So, Allister, I understand that we've had some feedback. We've had a listener, viewer, connect with us and ask a question. What did they want to know? How can we help?
Well, first of all, this is really exciting that we have questions coming in, and anybody, we invite you to send in questions to hooksandladders@songstudio.ca. This question came from Charlie. Charlie says, "Hi, my brother is a solo songwriter. I do help him write songs, but we're wondering the next steps after the album is complete." And he says, "Thanks, Charlie."
That's so
what
nice.
a big question.
Yeah, it's a big question.
It's a big question. So I think, Charlie, I hope this, I'm going to say this right off the top. I hope this isn't going to be a disappointment, but I think we're going to leave you with more questions than answers.
That's true. That's very likely true, because it's such a big topic, and actually there are multiple options for you to pursue. And there's no one right answer, really. There are a bunch of options, though. I would say this.
I think there's one overall answer, and that's once your album is complete, what you do next is you get it into people's ears. That's, in general, that's your task now, is how to get it into as many ears as possible.
The internet guru, Seth Godin, he's a marketing guy. He says your job as an artist isn't to make art, it's to ship. It's to ship the art. I don't fully agree with him. I think your job as an artist is to make art. But his point is taken, which is get it out there. Don't sit on it. Get it out there somehow. But of course, Charlie, you want to know, how do you do that? Now, what I would say is you go to a major record label. You play them your stuff. They love you, fall in love with what you do, and they sign you to a multi-million-dollar, multi-territory or worldwide deal. And they put out your music, and people hear it, and you become a fabulous star. And then you come and speak at Song Studio as a mentor, and maybe you buy me a Rolls Royce. I don't know. That's an idea, but.
There you have it. Thanks for watching Hooks and Ladders.
Everybody, see ya. No, clearly that's not going to be an answer that will work for most people, if anyone. So, Allister, what about being a little more practical on the ground? What are you going to do?
Well, and again, in the interest of giving you, Charlie, more questions perhaps than answers, I think a lot of this depends on how you and your brother, I believe his brother's name is Bryce, how Charlie and Bryce wish to pursue this. So, I've got to ask the question, are you a performing artist or not? That makes a difference. Do you wish to be somebody who creates recorded music and doesn't perform for an audience? There's still a place in the industry for that, but it's different than if you decided, I want to go on the road with my band. So, getting your songs into people's ears. If you're a performing artist, yeah, so your choice is, how do you find the audience? How do you get in front of the audience? How do you please the audience? But what if Bryce is not a performing artist? What do you think, Blair?
Well, I think that's really tough. That's the tough row to hoe, as they say these days, because where a songwriter makes their money these days, makes a living. It's not all about, making scads of money and buying me a Rolls Royce. You'd have to buy Allister one too. But it's about making a living at music, getting paid for your art. There's nothing wrong with that. And if you want to do that, if you choose to just be a recording artist and not perform, you're really making things tough for yourself. It's like, I don't know, playing in a baseball team, but tying one arm behind your back or something like that. It can be done, but it's going to make things harder for yourself.
I wonder, though, because of, the new world and how social media plays such a big part in this, it's really viable for somebody to be a recording artist who never leaves their home and yet produces content on social media that finds fans.
Sure, except we just don't know of that many examples of that, really. I think, I mean, of course it's possible, It's possible. Anything is possible, in terms of reaching people because of the incredible resource that the internet provides us. It's just, in all the noise, how do you get people's attention? One fairly easy, well, relatively easy way of getting someone's attention is by being a performing artist who has something that's unique and really brings some magic into a room with people. And usually what happens then is people want to pay to see you, and they want to record you, and they want to put you on the internet, and it sort of snowballs from there. If you're simply doing it in your basement or your bedroom, or in a multi-million-dollar studio, but you're never leaving that studio to go out and perform live, you still have the problem of getting people's attention in amongst all the noise. And it's yes, it can be done. Sure, it can be done.
So let's roll back to the question in its essence. And Charlie's talking about an album that they're preparing. So, okay, so once you've got a finished album, well, obviously you want to release it to the world. Well, maybe that's not necessarily, the obvious choice, but it's probably the choice. You want to release it to an audience. You want to work with the actual listeners, direct to listeners, in which case you want to find a way to get it on distributed to streaming services. If you're happy with streaming services, you want to find it, a way to get it on radio if you can break the barriers and get the attention of radio. But let's do the simple thing, and let's talk about how it gets on streaming services. You've got a recorded master. You partner up with somebody like CD Baby, DistroKid, TuneCore. There are many of them out there. Personally, and this is just my personal opinion, I prefer CD Baby. But they're all doing the same job. They are called an aggregator, and they are your partner for pushing those recorded tracks out to all of the streaming services. Some of them are paid streaming, some of them are not paid streaming. You get to choose. You get to choose whether you decide, well, maybe I don't want to go to Spotify. Maybe I don't want to go to Tidal. Maybe I have a real preference. But that's how you get it out there. You partner with an aggregator. They push it out. You do all the promotion with pre-saves and pre-sales and all that. And suddenly your music is available.
Yeah. And they all, each of the aggregators has a different way for you to pay them, because it will cost you money. You could pay them a monthly fee depending on the service, or you could pay them a one-time fee per title or per album, like per collection of songs. It really depends on the one that you've chosen to work with. And having too many options, they say that going into the grocery store and seeing a million different varieties of cereal is really confusing to the shopper, just in the same way that having so many options of distributors can be confusing. Sometimes it's good to hire a consultant, somebody who does this for other people all the time, someone who helps people get their music out there, because they can give you some advice. Allister did just give you some advice that he favors CD Baby, and actually I do too, but in my case, it's because I don't have any experience with other aggregators. For me, I like the idea of a one-time fee, and that's what CD Baby does. But whether they do it as effectively as other people or not, I'm not really sure. And Allister would have an opinion on that. But yeah, you have some choices, and they will help you with templates for marketing ideas and scheduling your releases, scheduling your the single releases and the promo ideas and so forth that you might want to pursue. So they can be really, really helpful, and you get value for your money. There's no question.
Yeah, and I will say this about the basically the two different models. Some aggregators, and CD Baby is on this side of the equation. Some aggregators, they ask you to pay once to put your music out there on all the platforms. And then when that music generates revenue, they take a commission and they pay you the rest. Whereas in the other side, there are aggregators who will in big bold letters on their website, they'll say, you keep all the money. That means that you keep all the revenue that's generated, because the way you pay the aggregator is with a regular recurring fee.
We should be clear too, and it can be really confusing. We're talking about the recorded master. of your music. We're not talking
That's right.
about the song itself, which, I can sing a song like this in the air, and it's a song. It's an old-fashioned sounding song, strangely, but it's a song, and it can exist in the air, and it's not the recording. It's not the master. But when you make a recording and you get it to an aggregator, we're talking about the recording, not the song. So we're not talking publishing. We're not talking writers' shares. Okay.
That's right.
They would get a piece of the CD Baby would take a piece after the monthly fee of the streaming revenue, for instance.
That's right. That's right. So once the music is out there, it's on you to help people find it, and that's probably the most difficult job.
It is the most difficult job. Yeah.
So the work doesn't end after the album is complete. Let's look at a different use for your recorded master. Let's say you don't necessarily want to be known. You don't want to go out there and have a brand as the artist. You want to create music, and you think my music would be fabulous in commercials or video games or movies or television.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole different avenue. That's called sync. It's the sync world because you're synchronizing this music to some video presentation. And this is an attractive option for a lot of people who don't want to be a touring artist, who don't necessarily want to be reaching the fans directly, but they want a partner to help them put a use for their music. Put it in television, put it in movies, put it in commercials.
It gets a little more complicated because now we're talking about the master, which is the recording, but we're also talking about the song, the intellectual property that is the words and music, the thing that I can just sing in the air that is still the song, even though it doesn't have all the production on it and so forth. It's the lyric and the melody, really. So when you get into sync, now you're dealing with both of those sides. And so it gets a little more complicated.
And we could talk, for a whole day on Hooks and Ladders about the intricacies of a sync licensing.
Yeah.
But here, Charlie, here is another avenue for you to do a bit of research and see, well, is that where we want to go with this album? And you can do both. You can have the music out to the public, and at the same time, you can be shopping this music to music supervisors who are the partners that would help you land a synchronization deal. Maybe you've got the perfect song for the next Bond movie. Competition's pretty tight, and you may have a really hard time getting the attention of the music supervisor who does the Bond movies. But there are tons and tons and tons of video opportunities for your music, and you don't have to necessarily think that high. There are opportunities to license your music in all kinds of video presentations.
Yeah, what do you think, Allister? We should probably do a Hooks and Ladders episode just on sync, because I think we could actually talk about it for about 5 or 6 episodes if we wanted to. But, if we're answering Charlie's general question about how to get the music, or what do you do once the album is done, I would say you get it out there. You get it out there as a master, as a recording experience for people to listen to on the streaming services. You try and get sync arrangements with film, television, video games, like wherever you can. And ideally you go out, you play live and you promote the thing out in the world. You make stuff happen for it. It's really tough. It's hard. The whole idea that you sit back and the world comes and discovers you because you've done some videos on YouTube, really that of course that has happened, but it doesn't happen on a regular basis. If it did, there wouldn't be TV shows about discovering people, like American Idol or The Voice or America's Got Talent or whatever, those shows where people get discovered. The reason there are TV shows about that is because it's such an exciting idea, but and rare. And so it's rare. Don't be counting on that happening. You got to do the work. And back to my first scenario where I said you should go to a major label and you should, get them to sign you and make you a star. That could happen too if you do all this other work, because labels these days aren't interested in you unless your social media numbers are up, unless you're getting hundreds of thousands or possibly millions of streams on Spotify or the other streaming services. They want to know that you've got, X number of followers on Instagram and so forth. So if you can do all that work at a certain point, it may be worth your while to go to a major label, or they may be paying attention to you, and something may happen. But if you do all that work, you may not need them. That's a great
There's
thing.
There's that.
The point is, and the really hard answer, I guess, is there's a lot of work to be done.
There's a lot of work to be done, and hopefully thinking about it in these terms of, okay, well, how do I get the attention of a music supervisor? How do I get the attention of a record label? How do I get the attention of millions of fans around the world? A lot of that starts before you've even released the album. You got to make sure that your songs are the best, doing the best job that they can do of speaking your truth to a listener, and making sure that your recordings stand up alongside your favorite music wherever you choose to consume it. So you've got some options right now that the album isn't finished. Make sure that you do your due diligence. Make sure you do everything you can. Consult with other songwriters, consult with other professionals, consult with other audio production experts, and make sure that what you're putting together is really, really compelling and really, really competitive.
Yeah, it's a funny thing, you want to be different from everyone else in a way, but you don't want to be too different, because if you're so different that people are thinking, oh, that's bad. People who are bad, they're different. You don't want to be that, so you want to be a little different, but you want to be a little the same. You want to speak your truth, but you want it to be relatable. It's funny, the number of I call them tightropes that you have to walk as an artist and as a songwriter. You want your stuff to be fresh and original, but also familiar enough that it doesn't sound like it's from another planet. Mm-hmm. No offense against people who are from other planets, but you know what I mean. It's a funny balance, really. And but yeah, Allister is absolutely right. You got to be great. You really got to be great. And if you say, well, no, but my stuff is unlike anybody else's, it's unclassifiable, it's not part of any genre, that's a problem. People often say that out of fear. They want their stuff to be different, but they don't want to work at fitting in. They feel like that's a mistake. Well, it's actually not. It's a mistake to ignore that. You want to fit into a point. I'm not saying you copy other stuff. You don't. But anyway, that's a whole other discussion, really. But to Allister's point, yeah, being great and being, sort of marketable and recognizable as something that's marketable. These are really important things for you to think about while you're making the songs that then make up the album.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I think we've satisfied our goal here, which is to leave more questions unanswered than questions answered. But Charlie, your question is a big one, and it's a question that is shared by a lot of artists. So I'm glad you asked. Thank you for sending in your question.
Yeah, thanks so much, and thanks for watching. And tell your friends. We're basically trying to spark discussions. And thanks for joining in on ours. So
we invite anybody, all of our viewers, send in your questions to hooksandladders@songstudio.ca, and surf over to our website at songstudio.ca and have a look at the kind of events that we're planning for the year and beyond. We're always dreaming up new ways of getting together with professionals and aspiring songwriters and getting the conversation flowing.